We all know that baseball is one of America's favorite pastimes. But why are hot dogs the biggest obsession at baseball games? Why have they gotten people arrested, forced Babe Ruth to have surgery, commanded fines, and even saved lives? To understand why, we need to go back in time and find out how hot dogs became associated with baseball in the first place. There are many accounts of how hot dogs came to be an important part of baseball, but one such account takes the cake. It is said that the man who designed the first scorecard in baseball, Harry M. Stevens, is the original reason for this obsession. Harry was born in England in the mid-1800s, but moved to Niles, Ohio in the 1880s, where he fell in love with the game of baseball. He saw many people attending these games and knew right away that this was an opportunity to make some good money. Because Harry was a business-minded person, he started a food concessionaire business in which he supplied food and drinks to many Major League Baseball ballparks, while also selling scorecards to fans. One of the things he sold was ice cream, but while at a game of the New York Giants, the temperature was freezing, so people weren't that interested in buying his ice cream. This provided him with an eureka moment that made him turn his attention to Dachshund sausages, as it used to be called. Because it was a hot meal, he figured it would be perfect for cold days. And that's how hot dogs came to be served at baseball games. Or at least that's what many sources say. In any case, it was initially sold alone on wax paper. But when one of Harry's staff ran out of this paper, he had to think of a solution, and that was to serve it in a bun. It was only a matter of time before a greater number of fans were drawn to this food, and players caught on as well. One such player that caught the hot dog fever was Babe Ruth, one of baseball's most iconic figures. He was the kind of person that lived and dreamed of hot dogs and soda. He wasn't exactly the kind of guy that cared much about his health. He loved his hot dogs so much that he would eat multiple dogs per day and then wash them down with his favorite drinks, alcohol, and soda. One day, he decided to take his love for hot dogs a step further when he ate about 12 to 18 hot dogs. But this time, his stomach couldn't tolerate it, and he got really sick to the point of being hospitalized and taken into surgery. However, that didn't stop him from munching on his favorite food. Surprisingly, his unhealthy lifestyle was not affecting his performances on the field either. And the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Nevertheless, seeing the most iconic player in the sport become synonymous with hot dogs, this snack continued to become even more popular. Enter Gates Brown, a former Tigers pinch hitter and outfielder who literally couldn't hide his love for the sausage. In 1968, Brown tried to hide his love for the dog when he stashed 2 hot dogs garnished with mustard inside his jersey. How did that happen, you might ask? Well, Gates was so hungry that he decided to pounce on one of those sausages while he was on the bench. But to his horror, he was called up by Coach Mayo Smith. But because he didn't want Smith to see him eating, he decided the best way to fool the coach and everyone else was to hide it in his jersey. Fantastic idea, right? Wrong. Brown ended up ruining his jersey with hot dogs and mustard and was caught in the act, red-handed. There it was, his love for the dog exposed for the world to see. Brown explained the embarrassing incident many years later in 1994, saying, "I always wanted to get a hit every time I went to the plate. But this was the one time I didn't want to get a hit. The fielders took one look at me, turned their backs, and damn near busted a gut laughing at me. My teammates in the dugout went crazy." To crown it all, he was fined $100 for his obsession. In addition, one player got fed a hot dog by his teammates after a home run. Let's just say that the umpire wasn't impressed with their shenanigans, and the player was ejected. And if players are catching the hot dog fever, you can bet your bottom dollar that the fans wouldn't be left out. Even though other foods have been added to the menu, hot dogs have remained the #1 food consumed by baseball fans. In 2022, the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, NHDSC, projected Major League Baseball stadium visitors to consume over 19 million hot dogs. So why are fans so obsessed with hot dogs? For one, the fact that every stadium has its own unique dog, customized with different condiments, which adds to the magnificence of a famous ballpark dog. For example, the crab mac and cheese dog from Oriole Park combines lump crab, buttery macaroni and cheese, and Old Bay seasoning served on a New England-style bun to create a hot dog with a special seafood-like flavor. Or is it the Sumo Dog from the Yankee Stadium? Or the Broomstick Hot Dog from Globe Life Field, home of the Texas Rangers? Or the world-famous Dodger Dog? In addition, they are easy to prepare, easy to eat, don't require utensils, and can be eaten with one arm. And suppose you didn't have arms? You could do it with one leg if you're skilled enough. What about the ads at games that subconsciously program the fans to always think of hot dogs? There are images of hot dogs in every nook and cranny of stadiums, and even if you weren't thinking about it before, you'll be forced to remember it, start to crave it, and then in turn buy it. It's like popcorn and cinemas. They just go together. Intelligent marketing by the MLB, right? And don't forget about good old nostalgia. Hot dogs seem to taste better at baseball games. Since the fans are having a good time in these stadiums, whatever they eat automatically tastes better. MLB teams will even organize competitions for fans to partake in, which further promotes the excitement of these famous weenies. Like the sausage race at American Family Feud, home of the Milwaukee Brewers. The dollar hot dog nights also serve to increase consumption by making it cheap for every Dick and Harry to have one. Even those ones who didn't want to spend their money on it can't resist these nights. And from time to time, it's the perfect projectile for causing havoc in the stadiums, as seen in the Phillies versus Marlins game in April 2023, where the Phillies lost 8-4. The Phillies organized the $1 Dogs Night, and since the fans weren't getting their money's worth on the field, they decided to pelt each other with hot dogs and engage in a food fight. While some took the time to attack the field with hot dogs, with many getting ejected, over 58,000 hot dogs were sold that night. But it gets even crazier with these ballpark Franks. The lines at the concession stands are so long that some fans might even miss the game as a result. Believe it or not, hot dogs have also saved lives. One Philly fan went to a Philly Dollar Dog Night in the hopes of beating his record of eating 8 hot dogs in one night. However, he got more than he bargained for when he was left with a nagging stomachache that lasted for weeks. A trip to the doctor saw him being diagnosed with stage 4 blood cancer. After several bouts of radiation and chemotherapy treatments, he was back on his feet and was even invited to Citizens Bank Park, where he met Phillies legend Charlie Manuel. He probably would have never found out about the cancer had it not been for his love of a ballpark dog. And let's not also forget the Phillies mascot, the Fanatic, and its tradition of shooting large hot dogs held together with duct tape into the stands. Although it didn't go as planned on one occasion when it injured a fan, the large hot dog hit the woman's right eye, and it was so serious that it left her needing emergency treatment. Nevertheless, all of these serve to commemorate the hot dogs amongst baseball fans around the world. But you might ask, have there ever been any detractors of ballpark dogs? Of course, despite the naysayers consistently bashing hot dogs, it hadn't deterred fans from eating them. One publication from 2017 by the Huffington Post informed the public to desist from eating hot dogs at baseball games due to not being freshly prepared and are largely unsafe for consumption because they've prepared under gross conditions. It says that hot dogs would be left on the water for over 2 days before they're sold to unsuspecting customers. According to one former concession stand worker, any hot dogs left at the end of the day went back into the fridge and came out again the next day. However, publications like these seem to fuel fans' love for the staple food even more. In 2022, one fan was even caught using a hot dog as a straw. Why he did this, only he can answer. Perhaps it was his only way of getting some flavor out of the beer. We can only speculate. And maybe he wanted to tell us he is addicted to hot dogs and beer without telling us he is addicted to hot dogs and beer. In another case, another fan decided to eat one hot dog for every run the Guardians scored during a game between the White Sox and Cleveland Guardians. After 3 francs, he ran out and then trusted the fans to come in at his point of need. They threw him 2 more dogs to help him devour 5 total because the Guardians won 5-2. It definitely doesn't look like hot dogs are going out of style anytime soon. Or ever. What do you think? Are you one of the millions of fans that must have a dog when attending a game? Let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this.